Walt today being a multi-billion-dollar company, as well as one of the most prominent names in the entertainment industry, Walt Disney Studios started from humble roots and a man with a vision. Being founded October 16, 1923, Walter Elias Disney set out to make a name for himself, at first messing around for 4 years with live action mixed with animation in his Alice's Wonderland Alice comedy series, after which in 1927, Walt changed his focus to an all-cartoon series. However, after Walt's misstep with losing the rights of his original character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, to Universal Studios, hey, at least we got him back in Epic Mickey, Walt needed to create a brand new mascot that could win over audiences all around the world. November 18, 1928 would give way to the first appearance of the now iconic Mickey Mouse character in one of the first ever fully synchronized sound cartoons, Steamboat Willie. Thus, a cartoon star, Mickey Mouse, was born. The new character was immediately popular, and a lengthy series of Mickey Mouse cartoons followed. Fun fact, Walt Disney himself voiced the lovable Mr. Mickey Mouse up until his death. Oh boy! Walt followed up with another successful series of animated shorts entitled Silly Symphonies, which featured a different cast of characters in each film and enabled the animators to experiment with stories that relied less on gags and quick humor of the Mickey Mouse cartoons and more on mood, emotion, and musical themes. Eventually, the Silly Symphonies turned into a training ground for all Disney artists as they prepared for the advent of animated feature films. Flowers and Trees, a Silly Symphony, and the first full-color cartoon won the Academy Award for Best Cartoon of 1932, the first year that the Academy offered such a category. For the rest of that decade, a Disney cartoon won the Oscar every year. Although the film cost a fortune to create at the time, almost bankrupting Walt's entire studio and putting him out of business, the risk paid off when Disney released in 1937 their first feature-length film and the first ever feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which instantly became a smashing financial success and instant beloved classic capturing the wonder and awe of movie audiences all around the world. Now on a roll, Disney would keep putting out hit after hit with their timeless animated features of Disney's golden years of films like Pinocchio, Bambi, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and more, gaining Walt Disney Studios the reputation of quality storytelling and filmmaking, and cementing them in the hearts and minds of people young and old who wish to experience and explore the magic of what Disney brought to the realm of entertainment and media. Of course, as it goes with anything in life, the studio would have its ups and downs both financially and critically with films such as Fantasia, that although a beautiful and unique experience of a film, didn't bring in the money the studio was hoping for. But Disney would always bounce back with massive success in another now classic film such as Disney's 1950s smash hit, Cinderella, which was considered a critical success, garnering the best reception for a Disney animated film since Dumbo, and bringing in a staggering worldwide box office profit of over $263 million on a film that cost Disney $2 million in budget to create. As well, Cinderella gained even more success in the Academy Award nominations for Best Music, Original Song, and more. Before Cinderella was made, Walt Disney Studios was over $4 million in debt, on the verge of bankruptcy, and if Cinderella didn't do well, it could have very well been the end of Walt Disney Studio Productions. But fate wouldn't see Disney come to an end, and instead, after the massive financial success of Cinderella, new life was breathed into the company, giving them an even higher budget for films and the ability to start putting out even more classic stories told by Disney and at an even faster pace. Disney would continue to release feature-length animated films frequently now with such classics like 101 Dalmatians, Sleeping Beauty, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and Walt Disney's final film he was personally involved with himself until his death in 1966, the beloved and timeless 1967 classic, Disney's hit The Jungle Book, which sadly Walt wouldn't live to see the release of. However, before his death, Walt Disney would bring to the world his dream come to life with the creation of what's still considered by many to be the happiest place on Earth, Disneyland's theme parks that are still attracting over 19 million people a day worldwide. But Walt's death wasn't going to stop the success of his now booming and prominent film studio empire, as after Walt Disney Studios would go through another slight rough patch, referred to as the Disney Dark Age, with not so financially successful films such as The Aristocrats, The Rescuers, The Fox and the Hound, and the infamous Black Cauldron, Yet again, the studio would bounce back even better than ever with what could possibly be considered Disney's most memorable and beloved era of hit after hit Disney films, now referred to as the Disney Renaissance era, which would give us such classics as The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Mulan, Hercules, and more. Since these massively successful films, Disney has managed to stay on top of the entertainment business and become one of, if not the leading brand in entertainment that always pushes the limit of what was thought possible, like with the partnering of Pixar Studios to bring us now beloved and technological innovative films such as Toy Story, or the worldwide phenomenon hits like Disney's computer-generated films like Frozen, Tangled, or Wreck-It Ralph. Movies, merchandise, theme parks, and more are just some of the many ventures that Disney now has under its belt, and with the buying out and incorporation of other huge and widely popular franchises like Marvel Studios and Star Wars, it looks like nothing is out of reach of Walt Disney Studios' control in an always expanding universe of entertainment that Disney has and always will bring us for many more magical years to come. But, as in the words of Walt Disney himself, we must never forget that all of Disney's grandness and epic scale all started with just a simple mouse and one man's dream of success.
Animation is animation. No matter where you're doing or what you're doing, it's the same. All animation is the illustration of a movement or an action by a series of drawings. You make enough drawings to illustrate that action, and if you flip it in a book, it animates and it does what you want it to do. And so the mechanics of animation from Disney to Warner are the same, except now we're working on better models, better drawings. At Disney, the drawings were maybe better, but they were very stilted and unsophisticated. They were realistic, and we try to make them as realistic as possible. At Warner's, it was the opposite. You're a cartoonist, make it funny.
Warner Brothers started their animation department in 1930 in an attempt to duplicate the success Disney was having. They began with their Merry Melodies shorts, which were cartoons made to promote their music. They had acquired 4 music publishing companies. However, they didn't hit their stride until the mid to late 1930s, when they initiated their more satiric, rough and tumbly style that would become known as the Looney Tunes, alternatively spelled Looney Tunes. Porky Pig was the first of the famous Looney Tunes characters to debut in 1935. He was followed by others such as Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Sylvester and Tweety, Yosemite Sam, and many others, most notably the most popular tune of them all, Bugs Bunny, who debuted in 1940. All of these characters and more would be famously voiced by the man of 1,000 voices himself, Mel Blanc.
Yeah, what's up, Doc?
You're despicable. Throughout the 1940s and into the 50s, Disney's roster of characters competed with Warner Brothers' Looney Tunes for animated supremacy. The competition was far less one-sided back then than it is today. Unlike the current situation with Disney's ultimate rule of the entertainment industry and unstoppable success, Warner Brothers was able to find their comedic niche that the public really wanted and overtook Disney in popularity in animation at the time, becoming even more well-received than the House of Mouse for a brief period of time. Even today, decades later, many people still hold Bugs and the Looney Tunes in more favorable regard when pitted against Mickey and company.
Yeah, how you like that, Mickey?
Oh, kiss my enchanted butt, you rabbit! If you look at the old Looney Tunes cartoons, they were hyper-violent, used occasional adult humor, and even subtle innuendos, and were very non-PC. Their take-no-prisoners style of anarchy was a marked contrast from Disney. Although some of the early Mickey Mouse cartoons had the same sort of wild energy that Looney Tunes had, Disney soon settled into a more innocent, wholesome style. Their characters were more sympathetic and usually were the victims of circumstance, rather than the tormentors like Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes, though, eventually would perfect their craft and knew exactly what to do with these cartoon characters and just what types of situations they could really work in, as well as being in the hands of some of the best artists in the animation industry at the time, like Chuck Jones, Bob Clampett, Robert McKimson, and more, who would put together and animate some of Looney Tunes' most classic and memorable shorts that will remind anybody of the time they first saw and laughed with hysterical glee at Bugs, Daffy, or Porky's funny animated adventures. New characters kept popping up frequently now, such as Roadrunner, Meep Meep, and the coyote, or Foghorn Leghorn, "Ussit, ussit, ussit, ussit." Viewers loved to watch the coyote get repeatedly crushed by boulders and falling off cliffs in his unsuccessful efforts to catch and eat the Roadrunner. The more overtly violent and ridiculous the Warner Brothers got, the more fans loved it and couldn't get enough of these wacky tunes. Characters like Speedy Gonzales, "Arriba, arriba!" may have been somewhat racist, but the Warner Brothers were as unapologetic as always and kept the non-PC humor coming. Pepe Le Pew was practically an attempted rapist, but still had fans wanting even more. Warner Brothers continued to be a fan favorite in short animation until the age of television ended the long-time trend of showing short cartoons before theatrical films. Once TV made cinematic shorts obsolete, Warner Brothers ended their lucrative Looney Tunes series, but would reintroduce their tunes through constant television broadcasts to a new generation of kids in the 1960s, showing reruns all the way until the 90s, where then kids of my generation would get to grow up watching and enjoying these timeless and beloved classic tunes we all still remember to this day. Of course, we couldn't end this video on both Warner Brothers and Walt Disney Studios without briefly mentioning the ultimate cartoon crossover to ever take place on the big screen. I'm of course talking about the 1988 smash hit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Wanting to return attention and public interest to classic cartoons of the good old days, director Robert Zemeckis set out to do what many thought would be impossible, that being having both Disney and Warner Brothers characters share the same space on the big screen for all to see in this epic live action mixed with animation adventure. This historic and epic cartoon crossover on the big screen was really able to happen thanks to the star power and connections famous director Steven Spielberg had in the film industry, his involvement with Roger Rabbit, and his real true desire to have huge animated crossover done right. Spielberg was able to secure a deal with both Warner Brothers and Walt Disney Studios to feature both their lineup of classic and beloved characters in the film, on one condition, that being that all Warner Brothers and Disney characters would share an equal amount of film screen time when seen throughout the movie. This rare and unheard of studio crossover at the time is how we were able to get such iconic duo shots of both classic Disney and Warner Bros. Characters for the first and only time ever sharing and inhabiting the same screen space, like in the now famous skydiving scene of both Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny falling out of the sky together. Or the hilarious piano duel scene in the film where Disney's Donald Duck versus Warner Bros.' own Daffy Duck. History was made, and the film was considered a huge success, not only for being a revolutionary and innovative film at the time for its mix of live action with animation, but as well for bringing back a resurgence of attention, care, and financial significance in classic cartoons and the production of animation in general. It's easy to see just how great of an impact both Walt Disney Studios and Warner Brothers has had in the medium of entertainment, and in the hearts and minds of so many all around the world who continue to grow, share, and experience the all-around fun and good times that these iconic characters and their timeless tales of fun and adventure have to offer. I'm sure these grand studios and the legacies they've left behind will always be admired for years and years to come. As long as there is still joy and hilarity left in the world, these classic tunes will always find a place in the hearts of so many around the world who hold these characters in such high regard, for animation is truly eternal as long as we take the time to stop and appreciate it and all it is able to achieve through its fantastic visuals, grand storytelling, and timeless characters we're sure to never forget.